Are you live? Are you live? Are you live? Are you live?
Testing.
Are you doing the this pink cloud feed?
I gotta listen to your new mixes too.
You do.
Yeah. Do you change up the music for each?
Not really.
Not really. Okay.
Well, here it is, kids. Another Friday. Welcome to This Pink Cloud, Season 2, Episode 34. Yay! Hey, so we're a show about recovery and sobriety and all the stuff that deals with and whatever issues come up. And we support multiple pathways, and we're just a bunch of tree hugging
And mental health.
left wingist. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, sitting in with. By the way, I'm DJ Kelly Reverb. Got to introduce myself. Sitting in with me, the stone cold Dusty Burrows from Sobar Basics. Everybody,
y'all?
give it up for Dusty.
I love your
All right.
intros.
Yeah.
Love them.
Well, I didn't go possum wrangler, and I didn't mention anything
No
about
CM this time.
about Charlie Manson and
How am I
that.
gonna be introduced?
Yeah. No, and then I'm so happy to have this young lady across from me. She is actually Summer Sky alumni, which Summer Sky is where I went and she went, and we went simultaneously, and we're the only people that have ever gone there. So, it's just our crew.
Our crew.
Yeah, exactly. And she was, how you have those people that you gravitate towards when you're in a rehabilitation for 30 days. And she was one of them, man. She's really
Absolutely.
cool and, a good lady, and has her stuff together presently,
Yes,
right?
Yes. Yes.
But
Always
yeah,
good.
she has a great story. So speaking of Summer Sky, we might as well just get this out of the way. If you want a place to go, it's Stephenville, Texas, summersky.us. That's 888-857-8857. Once again, that is summersky.us, 888-857-8857. It's where I went. I've got 14 months, I think, coming up, something like that. And then Gale also went there, so she will attest to the fact that it is a fantastic facility, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. And then also my boys at Cardinal House Sober Living, if you are in the DFW area, Cardinal House Sober Living, and you are a male and you're looking for that extended help, sober living, it is cardinalhouserecovery.com. Once again, that is cardinalhouserecovery.com. Number is 918-998-4223. Once again, that is 918-998-4223. And then also be sure and sign up for our YouTube channel, because I'm going to have original content on there soon, very soon. Like, we're going to do a best of and just have it on there. And then also stuff that you can't get on the old Facebook. So there you go.
Exclusive.
You have
Exclusive.
been warned.
Shout out Josh and Ricky.
Yeah,
Cardinal
exactly. I love that. Like, that Josh gives me his personal number to give out on the air. I love it.
That's cool.
It's cool, but he's a good dude and he's in it, man.
They're available 24/7.
Exactly.
Fantastic.
Just call Josh up and ask him what he's wearing.
Don't ask him to bring hot dog buns though.
Is there a problem with that?
Long story.
Long story. Hey, so Dusty, it's been a little bit since you've been on the show. I know you are, just so people out there that don't know, you are an LPC, LCDC, and just a great all-around guy.
Well, thanks, Kelly. Yeah, I'm a licensed chemical dependency counselor. I'm a licensed professional counselor. I'm a peer specialist supervisor as well for
Right, which you supported my hours,
Absolutely.
and I am now officially an RSPS.
Yeah, congratulations,
Very cool.
by the way.
Which is
Yeah.
recovery support peer specialist.
Yeah,
So
puts a kind of an official title to
exactly,
service work and, working with
I'm all
peers.
about entitlement.
Aren't we all?
Aren't we
Yeah.
all?
Mo lettuce, mo problems.
Right. But so, and then you've got your recovery Dharma thing going on. We were kind of talking about that. Recovery Dharma, if you want to tell the folks.
Yeah,
what
Recovery
that's
Dharma
about.
is a recovery pathway inspired and directed by Buddhist principles. So you don't have to be a Buddhist to be part of this. You don't really have to be anything. All
Yeah,
we
it's
ask
not a
you to do
religious
is
thing.
believe in your
Right.
own ability to empower yourself to change. That's
Right.
all. So you can be religious, you can be non-religious, you can be not sure.
Right.
It's okay, just show up. We don't identify ourselves as alcoholics or addicts or codependents or anything else. We just come in and say, introduce ourselves and support each other.
Right.
And the big piece to our program is meditation. And we use the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. So it's pretty exciting. If you're curious about it, come see us. If you like us, stick around. Come
Where
every
can they
week.
find that information?
You can look on North DFW Recovery Dharma on Facebook. And there's also a lot of other Recovery Dharma information out there, recoverydharma.org.
Right. But if
as
they want to
well.
specifically come to the
Come
Wednesday
see us.
night meeting,
Wednesday
where is that?
night and Friday night. We have Wednesday in Plano and Friday in the Colony. And the information address is on for that or on our Facebook page.
I just wanted to see if you had it memorized, dude.
He does.
I do. I just don't have the addresses memorized.
No, that's the part I was seeing.
But,
I was checking out.
Wednesday
how
night
deep
is
it
at the
went.
Mystic Mandala Center in
Yeah.
Plano. And,
I love
they're
that spot.
kind
I've
enough
actually been there.
to
It's
let
great.
us use our
And then
space.
also Dusty has a group on Facebook, which is a great resource, and I found it as a great resource. And lucky enough to hook up with you guys early in my sobriety, and it's SOBAR Basics, SOBAR Basics, and it's just a community of people, pretty much Texas, but worldwide, really. But you do a lot of sober events, like you got a paintball event coming up,
We got
right?
a paintball event on Sunday, and then we'll be doing another lake event probably in early October because we don't want to compete with the end of the month. There's a lot of stuff going on at the end of the month, so we'll have that information posted as it becomes available. So it's kind of a catch-all to recovery communities. So Skate Straight promotes there. The Phoenix,
Sure.
DFW Sober, anybody who has something in the recovery community,
Dogs
they
Matter.
would like Dogs Matter. Thank you.
Yeah.
Promotes within SOBAR and of course our own SOBAR events. So it's kind of a catch-all. We have lots of resource providers, counselors, and mainly just people in recovery. It started out as an idea to help support people in the service industry because that's where I came from.
And
that's where you
came from, yes.
So that's how it started, and then it's just blown into much more than that. So it's people in recovery from addiction, codependency, mental health disorders, all things where people need support and not judged.
All people that need to be shot with a paintball.
Yes,
Right?
yes, paintball.
Right.
We're trying to get together soon and jump out of a plane, but we haven't made that happen yet.
Oh, dude, yeah,
I might have to show up
that
for
might be
that.
that might be a trigger, dude. But okay, so to your right, to my left here, we have the lovely and talented Gale Griffin,
Hello.
which she drove in all the way from Wichita Falls, Texas, which is about 2.5 hours away, right?
Yes.
And Gale is just a cool lady that I met in rehab, and you know she was what I call a late bloomer, but she had some stuff that was going on. I don't want to spoil her story, but it was just like when you see her, when you look at her, you just go, really? Like she doesn't look like she presents well, so to speak, right?
It's been a long time perfecting that look.
Yeah. And we'll get into that, but Gale, go ahead and give us just like a little bit of a background, like of how you grew up and the story, and I'll chime in because I know most of it, and I was front row for your recovery.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
so
Thank
you.
you for having me.
No
I'm
problem.
Grateful to be here. Just grew up in a small town on a pig farm, actually. So developed a work ethic from a very young age.
Right,
That
shoveling
was-
shit.
Yeah, feeding pigs, breaking tanks, carrying water
Right.
when it freezes over.
Would you consider yourself country strong?
I'm very country strong. Absolutely. I can get muddy with the best of them.
There you go.
It was expected, work hard at everything you do. I would get up 2, 3 in the morning to help deliver pigs, go to school, catch the bus 6:30 in the morning. So definitely a work ethic. I was very involved in athletics growing up, and again, not just the work ethic, but expected Now, whether or not I put that on myself or it truly was something kind
That
of
was
put on me,
imposed
that
on
was
you, yeah.
imposed, who knows, you know?
Right.
But I developed a very competitive personality and expected nothing but first place.
Yeah, it was like definitely second place was first last
loser.
Yeah, last place.
Absolutely. And those principles, you know, carried over into all aspects of my life. And when I was in recovery, obviously in rehab, that posed a problem to everybody, it seemed like. Everybody was pointing it out to me, I knew it was there, but I did not realize how much that was instilled and impacted my life.
Would you consider yourself a perfectionist?
That was my next thing. I strive for perfection. I strive to be, I guess, you know, kind of looking back, if I could achieve perfection, I thought that I achieved life, like I had arrived. So I spent a lot of years chasing, you know. I remember in college thinking I could never make a B. And I made it till my senior year in college. And
What'd you get a B in?
I made
like ceramics or something like that.
No, I made the mistake of taking organic chemistry 1 and 2 in the summer. And that second organ got me. So,
all right.
Yeah, it got me.
So
and,
it took your average down to a 3.8 or 3.9.
Yeah.
Right.
3.83.
Yeah.
But, you know, it was still, you know, magna cum laude. But, you know, wasn't good enough because I wasn't SUMA, you know. Yeah. Yeah, that stuff's real. I mean, it affects you. And whether you want to admit that you're that way, then I spent a lot of time pretending. I wore a lot of masks throughout my life. Always pretending everything was okay and that I was living this perfect life and I was achieving these perfect goals.
Well, you're good. You're very good at presenting because you're very conscious of that. Because you and I always tell you this. I always go, dude, who gives a F what they what they think.
Right.
I mean, but she does.
I have my whole life.
Yeah.
My whole life. And I do think some of that is small town growing up.
Right.
You know, you've always got eyes on you. You've always
everybody knows
everybody knows
business.
Everybody, and they're going to talk about it.
Right.
You know, the reality is people are going to talk. And accepting that, I think, is that's a tough thing to swallow when you put all these expectations on yourself and you feel like others expect, you know, whether they do or not, it really doesn't matter. I have found out, you know, it's
your perception.
It's what I perceive.
Sure.
To do that, and it took me a while to figure that out. I mean, I'm just now accepting that you know, it's what I perceive. You know, people may not be expecting as much as what I think they are. Especially after going through rehab and them seeing what it did to me, you know, it definitely has changed some dynamics just in my own family.
Well, and just you saying that you went to rehab, that's a big deal for you.
It is a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, I almost canceled this show. Yeah. Because I'm like, who's going to see me? Who's going to know?
Right, yeah.
You know?
No, I get it, and I appreciate the bravery and sticking that out.
2 weeks ago, I almost messaged, and I'm like, no, I could, you know, because if I can help, because a big part of this is like not being a big part of recovery is being selfless and, you know, doing for
and
others,
helping
which
others,
is what I do in my
being
profession.
Of service, right.
I am of service, but
by the way, you are an MPT.
Yes.
And you have your own practice now,
I do now.
which I'm so excited for you, which is called
post-recovery practice.
Yeah, and we'll get into that.
Yes.
But it's G2 Wound Care, right?
Yes.
In Wichita.
Yes.
And Gale's running the show and kicking ass. But we'll get into that.
Yes.
Well, Gale, you know, very proud of you for coming on, by the way.
Thank you.
And you probably learned this, but a lot of people don't know this. Perfectionism is an addiction too, and it's an exhausting one.
It's a very exhausting one, yes. And I am realizing that, and like I said, there's a lot of things I'm learning that are all very addiction personality related. I'm way more addicted to things than I thought I realized I was.
It's like codependency and perfectionism. Dr. Brene Brown characterizes perfectionism like a two-sided coin. One side's the perfectionism, the other side is shame. The shame
Yes.
drives the perfectionism.
Ah, Dusty he'll go on the Zen master.
I love that
Action.
because shame is one of my biggest probably character defects that, I mean, I just, handling shame is tough.
It is.
Yeah.
It's hard to swallow, and I've never really had anyone put it into that respect, but it is. It's shame or it's perfection. You don't, there's no in between.
Yeah, it's the fuel that feeds perfectionism, codependency, addiction.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, but after that nugget of knowledge, then so you're over there, you're thinking, everybody's thinking, first off, you're thinking, oh, I've got to be perfect. And then you've got, oh my God, what is everybody thinking about me going on?
Absolutely.
And then so that's happening. So then, I mean, basically, because you were like what I call a late bloomer.
Absolutely. 47 years old.
Yeah. So you did not start drinking until then, right?
Correct.
Right.
Correct. Yes. Now, I had always occasionally, I would drink wine or, I never really went out and got drunk.
Mm-hmm.
Not even in college. I never
Right.
even tasted alcohol till I was 23.
Yeah.
Because I was so focused on school, I wasn't going to let anything screw that up. I never went to a party. I was living that perfect, trying to do everything perfect,
Right,
thinking
right,
if I
right.
achieve this, I'm going to achieve happiness. And that is one thing I've realized, that I thought achieving perfection, I would achieve happiness.
Right.
And I'm finding out that they don't correlate too well.
Sure. Well, let's talk about so 47, and then all of a sudden, you had just wine before, but then, take us into your addiction, behind the
Okay.
curtain a little bit, and tell us, how bad it got and what happened, and maybe some repercussions or something
Absolutely.
like that. Yeah.
So I was, trying to live that perfect life. And, in a small town, you're trying to raise this perfect family. And I was very successful, never struggled getting a job. I was highly recommended. I usually worked one full-time job and one or two part-time jobs, helping out, filling in, I wouldn't say I was in high demand, but I
Yeah, you didn't
easily
go
was
without.
sought out
Right.
and was just, could do my thing. And I loved, and what I do as a physical therapist, very compassionate about. I am very compassionate about people. I'm very compassionate about healing and helping others feel better.
Right.
And at any cost, no matter how I felt. Always push my own. I really didn't even know how I felt most of the time. All I know is I'm driven, I'm taking care of others, and that was genuine. There was never a time in my life that part of me wasn't genuine. But so I'm doing my thing, raising my kids, and I realize now that I was pushing this perfection onto my children as well. But they, let me think. Sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought.
Right.
But not knowing that I'm doing that, and then when their pathways and their thoughts weren't going with my plans, I started feeling like a failure.
Okay.
And I don't know, it just all started, I felt like everything was kind of like nothing was working out, that everything I'd done was a waste of time, because now, things aren't going. My son didn't go down the traditional pathway.
Right, or the pathway that you
I expected.
thought. Right, yeah.
And I had a hard time dealing with it.
Sure.
He had a talent for cycling that was discovered when he was 14, 15 years old. He never really fit into the mold of traditional. He wasn't that one that just fit in everywhere he went, and he hated school. He's a straight A student, but hated it. And when he found cycling, loved it, and had the opportunity to start training with the local college there.
Right.
at age 15. And so the only way he could do that was to homeschool. And so
Right.
he wanted to quit school and homeschool.
Which was not condoned by one Gale.
It was not condoned
Right?
by me.
somebody's mother there.
Yeah, no.
So
No.
so all that stuff is happening, and you're trying to impose your perfection onto your children, but then okay, so that's not working out. So then at some point, do you just say, how did your addiction occur? Like, I mean, what happened? What went on? Like, I mean, obviously that went on, and then did you just start casually drinking, or did you just, how did it happen?
From what I recall, so August of 2019. So my son was 16 at that point, and he wanted to move to Fort Worth, and so he could train with other cyclists and have more riding pathways and all this, just really get into it down here in this area. And there are more opportunities, and I know that, but still, he was 16. He was my kid. I can't imagine letting a 16-year-old move off to Dallas-Fort Worth area, and do this. And it was really too much for me to handle. Like, I emotionally could not handle it. And I didn't approve of it, but his father did. And it was
So there was a rift going on there as well.
It was kind of like 2 against 1. I felt like, again, nothing I did mattered. And I remember the day that he was moving out, I just started drinking because I didn't want to feel anything. I wanted to be numb. Wanted to be numb. I was like, I cannot handle these feelings anymore. And from that point on, I mean, I just started drinking, and it just got more and more and more, and to the point that I was blacking out, and it just snowballed.
Spending time at the local post office.
Yes.
And in various fields.
In various fields, yes.
I can relate
Not
to that
knowing,
part.
yeah.
Would you say the fear and the shame kind of collided?
I do feel like it did. I felt like, again, what's everyone going to think, and then plus I was worried about him.
Yeah.
I'm like, he's 16.
Scary.
It was scary for me. And I mean, I didn't want to let go. And the shame, and it just, I could not even wrap my head around the thoughts, about it. And it just kind of it overtook. And, genetically, alcoholism is in my family.
Sure.
But I thought because I was 47 that I was immune. I thought if it was going to hit me, it would have already hit me. You know, I've definitely drank enough times that if it's going to do it, it was going to do it. So I really wasn't afraid of that. All I know is I couldn't stand the way I felt. I couldn't handle my own thoughts in my head, and I wanted to be numb. I wanted to be numb.
Yeah.
And that was really the only way I knew that was my choice.
Yeah, sure.
A drug of choice, I suppose. And it's like when I hit it hard, and it just snowballed really fast. I mean, within 2 months, I was really not functioning that well.
Right.
I mean, I was trying,
But yeah, I mean, I find this interesting because she was such a late bloomer. Because like everybody, I always hear, well, I started drinking at 8 years old.
Yeah, I hear it all the time.
And she's like, and she's like the total opposite. But it affected, and she had an allergy to alcohol. I mean, in that late in life,
Absolutely.
and then in that short of a window, it became a huge problem. I mean, not only physically, but I mean, also there was some legal issues, which we won't get into. But, I mean, there was some serious repercussions, and you were actually looking at maybe, incarceration at some point, right?
Well, I mean, I ended up having 2 DUIs within 6 months time. And I mean, a third one, of course, meant prison, lose my license to practice as a physical therapist. I mean, there's a lot on the line. That was definitely scary, and I mean, definitely a reason I chose to go to rehab, even though at the time I really did not think I was an alcoholic.
Hold on, come on.
I think that's one of the reasons why that part of your story is so important, because you're such a high functioning individual. It reminds me of, I met a man in the rooms who he didn't develop his addiction to alcohol till after he retired. His retirement was that trigger.
Was that trigger?
Another woman She almost drank herself to death in 1 year at 66 and never had a problem with
And never
alcohol
had a
before
problem.
that, because trauma, shame, and triggers all collided at once.
Yes.
And it's really important for people to know that if they do have those cycles in their family, that it's really important to not let your guard down.
Yes, absolutely.
Because
I
it
had
can happen at any age, even
no
after
fear.
lots of success.
Yeah, I had no fear that that would ever happen to me because I thought that it happened when you were younger and that you would, and that you would know.
Right, exactly.
But I do think an accumulation of all of the shame and expectations over time. I mean, just mentally, I got to the point that
Well, you had
I
a
couldn't-
lifetime of that.
Yeah, I couldn't
Yeah.
process it anymore.
Sure.
Um,
So
Absolutely.
okay, so like the legal issues happen, then you start going, okay, well, and it's kind of funny because you said, I didn't think I really had a problem.
I didn't.
Because come on, I didn't have a problem either, man. I mean,
No.
just because I blacked out on the decks like 3 times, and just would my wife would. Be worried if I was going to be alive or dead when she came home. I mean, this is all happening. I mean,
But
just
you don't
because
think it's a
just
problem.
because I had diabetes, just because I gave myself diabetes, it's not a
It's not a
problem.
problem.
It's not a problem,
No.
man. I mean, that was a huge
I can-
thing to actually go in, and then I'm like, okay, well, maybe I have a problem,
I
and
just
then
nicknamed it my lifestyle.
yeah, right, exactly.
Well, and whenever someone would approach me and say, "You've got a problem," and I'm like, "No, I am choosing this. I choose this because I don't want to think, I don't want to feel, I want to be numb. I am choosing to drink and do this." Thinking I was in control because I was a control freak, and I thought I was in control and that I wanted that I was choosing that, despite the fact, like you said, of course, I'm in a small town, so I would wake up in fields, like be stuck in a muddy field with tractor sitting right over there. No idea whose field I was in.
Right.
And had I not had 360 on my phone, nobody would, I mean, I don't know who would have found me,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
that
it's
happened
crazy.
a couple times.
Sure.
And then, as Kelly kind of mentioned, you kind of have to find your safe spot to go drink, and mine was the post office. The city
Yeah,
post
I love it.
office.
I just love
And,
It's that
because
small
The
town,
first
dude.
one, I've
Small
never
town
heard of.
Texas. Yeah.
You know what? It's so funny because I have several people say, "We've never heard of parking at the." I'm like, it's the perfect place. I just watch people come and go. They think I'm there getting my mail. I'm just sitting there with my bottle of vodka. And, they come and go. I wave.
Yeah.
I think Randy Travis, his was church parking lots.
Really?
Oh, could be. Yeah. I could see that.
Yeah.
That's not a bad spot
That's not a
either,
bad
yeah.
spot
Get close
either.
to God.
Yeah,
That was
right?
just 2 blocks over. I could have easily hit that too. But mine was the post office. And, yeah.
So okay, so you're in rehab. We're in rehab at the same time,
Yes.
Summer Sky, and I mean, I think there was some good habits that I learned and that they teach you to try to reprogram and hit the reset button for once you get out. But like, let's go to where, like, when you got out, because I mean, after you got out, you held it together for a little bit, but
Not very long.
then you struggled and went back. So let's talk about that.
Absolutely. And like I said, when I went to rehab, I really didn't think I thought maybe I just needed a break.
Mm-hmm.
I needed a mental break, get away from my situation that was causing me to want to drink.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, if I just don't drink for 30 days, I'll be fine. I'll have
Right.
control of it again the way I had before. Things
Sure.
just got snowballed out of control. I truly thought that. I truly
Yeah,
didn't
I
think
mean,
I was
hey.
an alcoholic.
Right.
I thought I'd be fine. And I got out, and when I went back to my same environment,
Mm-hmm.
think that hadn't changed.
Yeah.
I was going right back into the same situation that was
Caused
fueling
you, yeah, right.
my fire to want to drink
Right.
and not to want to deal with life. And so I thought, well, as long as I control drink, it'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew I had learned enough to know, I'm like, okay, I need to not like drink till I black out and do all this stuff. At
Right.
this
You
time,
need to, you can regulate it and
yeah, absolutely.
socially.
And it's funny you brought up about the allergy part of it, because until I started the AA program, I really didn't even know all that.
Right.
But I also wasn't investing myself into finding out information because I didn't think I had a
Yeah,
problem.
I mean that was the thing, and that was key. What you just said, like, I mean, I think once you got outside of rehab and outside of that safety net, then you didn't really pursue sobriety.
Absolutely, no,
Yeah.
no. And it wasn't that it wasn't my intention; it just didn't happen.
Right. Yeah.
And so out post rehab, which was August of 2020, I just tried to get back. I was like, oh, I'm doing good, I'm feeling good, which I was, because
Right.
I was sober for 30 days. And I think I made it maybe 2 weeks without drinking. And then once realizing that I am in my same kind of nightmare story, of not knowing how to deal with what I'm feeling in my non-perfect life. There was no perfection going on, and I didn't know how to function like that.
Right.
And so this is a pattern which will interest you. I didn't know this until later, but I think I told Kelly this, and I would call Kelly and stuff, and
I got a couple of drunk dials.
He saw the pattern, and I would be good for 3 or 4 days, and then I would crash and drink all day long every day for 3 or 4 days. And then I'd be like, okay, I got to do, and then I would be okay.
Yeah.
And I just roller coaster all the way till January. And like I said, Kelly saw it firsthand. I'd call, I didn't know what was going on.
I mean, there was some scary stuff that went on. There was and not to put too much on it, but there was a text that she sent. Obviously she was under the influence, so it was a little, but and it was something that concerned me, where I had a wellness check, done on her, and she was pissed at me.
I was, yeah.
She was pissed at me, but I'm like, hey, don't do that, man.
Yeah.
Because I take that really serious. And I mean, what if you would have done,
I actually became pretty suicidal during that time, because I didn't really, again, at first, using alcohol to numb, I was managing myself that way. But then when that wasn't even numbing what I was trying to go through, then those suicidal thoughts started coming to my head, and they were real.
Yeah, well, I'm glad I had the wellness check on you, because I mean, I think that kind of maybe spurred you. I mean, in a kind of an embarrassing way,
Yes.
I
think somebody actually knowing what my thoughts were. Because I was just internalizing, and I wouldn't let anyone know. But then when you get to that lowest point, you finally don't care who knows what you think. And these are my thoughts, and I don't want to live anymore, because my life is not perfect. And if I can't live in a perfect world, I'm out. Check me out.
It's very real. I mean, we're losing more folks to completing suicide than we ever have in history. So use those crisis lines. Call 911, because you don't want to go to somebody's funeral. They'll generally get over it when they're mad at you. But if you save their life, you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, I was angry at Kelly, because I was like, you're judging me. You're doing that. You're putting all these, and really, honestly, had I not reached out unintentionally, who knows? Who knows? So I'm grateful that, I was able to stay in contact with our crew from Summer Sky.
Shout out Nolan Elizabeth.
Absolutely. I mean, our crew was strong, and we made a lot of bonds, and it saved me. It saved me, because I don't think, had I stayed connected, I don't know, to be honest, because I know I wouldn't have never reached out to anyone in my community.
Well, so okay,
because of the shame.
So this is the good part, and the so-called money shot, I like to say, but basically, you got out of rehab, and you're struggling
big time.
I mean, big time, like to
probably
where
worse than before I went into rehab.
So you're struggling, and then what? I mean, do you just get an idea, or do they, when they did the wellness check, then do they have like a psychiatric evaluation after that, or how does that happen?
Well, just to warn people, ideally that would have been the situation. I went into a facility for 3 days and was supposed to get all this psychological help and get all this. Basically, I got shuffled around and nothing became of it.
Okay.
Nothing. I was in complete desperation because they did nothing to help me, unfortunately. And so I actually reached back out to Summer Sky because the medications that they had helped me get on, I wasn't on any because you had to have a licensed addiction,
Right.
or someone licensed to
An
treat
RNA
to treat addiction,
Sure.
to prescribe any type of medications. And the one that I was mainly concerned with was the one Campril, which is to not crave alcohol. You know, when I got out of rehab, I had no medication, none whatsoever. So,
well, you know what you're supposed to do, actually, Gail. When you get outside, you're supposed to contact your physician and carry those prescriptions.
That's what we call
on.
bridging the gap.
Yeah.
That's why most
But,
relapses after rehab happen within 2 weeks.
well, they did. They made me an appointment, but it was a month after. I didn't have an appointment I was going to be out of rehab for an entire month, and I did not have meds to go for a month.
Right.
And so I reached out to Summer Sky. They helped me
Get the meds.
get meds, get hooked up, and get in with somebody. And then, so I got in with a psychologist and kind of told my story and everything went on, and had no idea that basically I had a lot of symptoms of bipolar. Which now makes sense to me. The roller coaster life that I lived for that year, or like 16 months, it's like I never could get a grip. It's like I would go and think I have it, and then I would do this, and I would go, and so she
well,
helped
you know,
me realize.
but it's funny. Okay, so Gail calls me, and she's like, she's almost in tears, and she's like, she's like, they told me I was bipolar. And I'm like, you and like 9 million other people, But I mean, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. And maybe you can get the medication now to navigate that, to actually stabilize, and then to deal with it in a different way. But I know, Dusty, you probably have many statistics on bipolarism over there.
Well,
and that was
funny
that was the ultimate stigma of like no perfection. Like that made me realize I have no control over my life.
Right.
And that meant perfection was out the window.
Right. Oh, I'm bipolar, so I'm not perfect, I mean, yeah, I know. And I mean, I was just like, I felt bad for you because you were like, you felt such shame towards it, and like it was like a bad thing. And I'm like, hey, are you gonna, if somebody has cancer, are you gonna like look down at them? I mean, that's my point of view, but that's how I look at it.
Yeah, it's like if you have diabetes and you're like, oh, I don't want that insulin, I can just tough it out.
Right.
But
yeah,
mental health disorders are so prevalent in our society. 5.7 million Americans, about 2.6% of the population, 18 or older, have bipolar disorder. That's 3 out of every 100 people. It's real, it's with us, and we need to accept that and treat that. I wanted to also point out that women kind of get a bad rap with bipolar disorder. There's a stigma there that women have it more than men, but
women have it every month, right, Dusty?
Yeah.
I'm not touching that one, Kelly.
I'm kidding. Joking.
But yeah, 2.8 and 2.9 males. So if you want to go with that 0.9, males actually have it more based on these stats from the National Institute of Mental Health. Another one I want to share is a lot of folks come in and they're like, well, I've had extreme highs and lows. Well, we all do. But there's a big difference between having bipolar disorder, a bipolar 1 and bipolar 2, especially if you're going through addiction, and especially if you're new in recovery after stop using. There's a lot of highs and lows to that. So before you go get a diagnosis, you need to be abstinent for a bit. You need to be sober for a little bit, so you can get a proper diagnosis. I recommend going to a master's level therapist or a psychologist or psychiatrist.
Right.
Now, when people go, well, what's bipolar 1 and bipolar 2? Well, The main difference between bipolar 1 and 2 lies in the severity of the manic episodes caused by each type.
Sure.
A person with bipolar 1 will experience a full manic episode, while a person with bipolar 2 will only experience hypomanic episodes, a period that's less severe than a full manic episode.
Sure.
So the next question is, what's
Well,
hypomanic?
right,
Which-
and yeah, and you were actually discussing that with her and made sure it was okay before we we put it on blast here. But go ahead and ask her the question.
Oh, yeah. Well,
so-
I want to share these two things,
Yeah.
and then I want to ask you what
Okay.
Yeah.
manic
Absolutely.
episode's like. So, hypomania is a condition similar to mania, but less severe. They resemble manic, but they're less distressed, and they won't impair one's work. So, and then a manic episode, it's very severe. It's heightened energy, creativity, euphoria. People often get addicted to that feeling. They want to feel it all the time. That's why a lot of folks with bipolar disorder will also become addicted to amphetamines and cocaine because
they're delicious.
they're very similar to those manic episodes, you know. So I just wanted to share those little tidbits of
Right.
Ed on bipolar disorder. So now that I've mentioned mania, not just a high, like I feel really good after feeling like crap for a few days, but mania. Would you mind sharing what an episode of mania was like for you?
So when I would come out of my my low points, which they got really low, I mean, and they would last 3 to 4 days, you know, and I know during those 3 days I'd call Kelly or whatever. I mean, I'd be in my room, you know, would lock myself in my bedroom for 3 days at a time. And, but when I'd come out of it, I'd be like, okay, I got this, you know. And, of course, being a female, shopping would do it for me, you know, and I would spend a lot of unnecessary money that maybe I didn't even have doing that, or just going and doing things like that I've always wanted to do, including my tattoo. You know, I'm like,
yeah.
yep, I'm going to get that. You know, so anything that was kind of like living on the edge of something I would have never, like I always maybe wanted to do but wouldn't do. It's like that euphoria of I'm going to do whatever I want to do, you know, and like I wouldn't even tell people, like I would maybe just take off to Dallas or take off, you know, didn't tell anybody where I was going. I
Right.
would go do whatever I want to.
Right.
You know, for me, that was kind of my high of just
Dude, Thelma and Louise in it.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Like
Yeah.
just, you know, coming up with crazy ideas that
Right.
just taking off was mine. Like I would just take off.
Right.
And wouldn't even
She
contact.
gone.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
gone.
right.
And maybe not even, like I said, I wouldn't even tell anybody where I was at. I wouldn't answer the phone. I wouldn't. I was kind of in my own little world, trying to live, you know, think that if I can live like this, then I've got life. I've got life. And then you come down off of it, and then you crash, and you go back to the bedroom, and you lock yourself up.
For 3
And-
days.
Yeah.
And send your friends scary text.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you explained
Yeah.
it really well, and I appreciate your honesty and your vulnerability
Thank
in
you.
sharing this.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. So we've kind of focused on the dark part, you know, of it. But so now that you've gotten diagnosed and you're on proper medication for it, let's talk about the success and get that hope out there. You know.
Yes.
Yeah. So you I mean, you're.
So I got diagnosed and started medication in November of 2020. And it didn't take long, like within 2 to 3 weeks. It's like almost cognitively, I didn't realize. So that's the other thing about when you're manic, your thought process, you're not thinking clearly. You're thinking on a cloud up here. And the things, like you're not in reality. The reality is not there. And I felt invincible. Like I'm living the life. I can do anything I want to do, and it doesn't matter. You know, just chasing that happiness. I think happiness was something that I craved, and I thought perfect happiness was out there in the universe. And so, but once I got on the medication and I actually started thinking more clearly and rationally and realistically,
Sure.
I was able to start kind of processing what that I had been doing, and looking back, I didn't even realize how much of a roller coaster I was on, even before August of 2019.
Well, you don't realize you're on the roller coaster.
You
yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know you're.
I'm guessing shame and fear don't exist in mania.
No,
Yeah.
not at all. No, you're very carefree, and I like that because I carried so much shame and guilt and fear for so many years that when you're on that high and you don't, like, I craved it.
Yeah.
Like, I super craved it because to feel not invincible, but to feel like you don't have to feel all the weight of the world on your shoulders.
Where it's
But
not
you
your
don't have to make the
responsibility and
perfect
you're not
decision.
control. Yeah.
You don't have to be in control. You don't
Sure.
have to make a perfect decision. I can just
Right. Well, okay, so
go.
then exciting thing after that, because she had mentioned that she was going to, I need to start this business in Wichita Falls because there's a G2, she wanted to do G2 wound care because Gale Griffin, so G squared. That's
Which
what
is
I
his
was calling.
nickname.
That's what
And
I'd
from
call her,
rehab.
G squared.
So he officially helped me name my business.
Yeah, right. But so she's out now. I mean, this is a very inspirational story to me. I mean, because you go to rehab and then you can't really navigate it. You get diagnosed and then boom, you are, this version of success that you thought about being,
Yes.
but now you can navigate life and do this. And I mean, you opened up what, like 2 months ago?
March 1st
Okay, so March 1st.
of this year, 2021.
So yeah, and you've been open for what, 3 months?
What is it?
I don't-
April, May, June,
don't
July,
make me do
August.
math.
Yeah, we're talking 6 months.
6 months. So you've been doing this, and it's grown to where like there's a waiting list, right? And
Yes.
Probably going to bring maybe some additional help on.
Eventually,
I'm
yes.
like, well, we need to open the franchise here. And,
Yeah. Now, I don't know if I could go that far,
right.
but
But no. So I think it's just so inspirational that and paramount that people get diagnosed, because I mean, you could be trying to do this, and it's just not going to happen.
It would have
because
never happened.
because you don't know.
And I did talk about my wanting to open up my own business in rehab. I talked about that. It's something I'd wanted to do for the past 10 years, but I had no confidence or guts. I didn't even have the guts.
You'd have the confidence for 3 days,
And then I would
for
lose
3
it.
days, you'd be like, "That's a dumb idea."
Yeah, just keep
right,
doing
yeah.
what's safe and what's getting you through life, and just
Well,
do that.
I am very proud of you
So,
personally.
thank you.
So
Thank
yeah,
you. Thank you.
And I want to thank you for coming out. I know we're trying to introduce a new segment here. So Brett, I don't know if you have that video. We're actually doing video call-ins where people submit a question to us, and then whatever brain trust is here during the day, we do that. But before I get to that, let me hit our sponsors real quick, which is summersky.us, and that is 888-857-8857, summersky.us. And that is 888-857-8857 out in lovely Stephenville, Texas. 2 products of their rehabilitation facility right here in front of you.
Yes.
Thriving, living our best life, being better humans, being better versions of ourselves.
Absolutely.
I think so.
Absolutely.
I think so. And then also Cardinal House Sober Living here in the DFW area. If you look up cardinalhouserecovery.com, they are sober living for guys if you're looking for long-term accountability and cool dudes, cool vibe, cool program. Give my boy Josh a call at 918-998-4223. Once again, that is 918-998-4223, and that's cardinalhouserecovery.com. So got that out of the way. Anybody that wants to do this can send in like a video, and I kind of stole this idea from Theo Vaughn. I like Theo Vaughn.
Yeah,
but where I do a video call of the week, and this is my buddy Jagger from out in Florida. And he had a question for us. So Brett, if you can play that and make sure the audio is up on it. I know he told me he was a little bit nervous doing this. He was like, "Dude, I got to do this without drinking," So hey,
technical difficulties. Clean living. I think I handled it better when I was So, hi, I'm Jagger, here in Orlando, Florida, sunny Florida.
Right.
And I want to first start off by saying thank you so much, Kelly. I want to say from the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate everything you've done for me, the phone calls, the support. When I needed to reach out to somebody, you were there, and I do appreciate that. And when I was in recovery my first month, I didn't know if I was going to be able to make it, but I knew one of my last emails was you, or one of the last posts I read, on Facebook was your post about this pink cloud being about sobriety. So I figured, hey, I have a chance here. I can do this. So here it is, almost 9 months into it. Sober, clean. I don't really have a whole lot of fear with relapse as of right now. I'm brand new into this. 8 months. It's like almost 9 months. The thing is, I am feeling insane amounts of guilt 8 months in. At first, it was more like a little bit of shame, like, oh, how could I do this? But now it's guilt. And I look at my kids, my 2 daughters, and it's hard sometimes because I feel like they really don't have time yet. They haven't had the time to, like, be upset yet because, oh, Daddy went through recovery, or Daddy went to detox, and Daddy went to a month of treatment center and inpatient, excuse me, and now he's home, and we're not supposed to upset the waters. And I feel now I'm in a really good space, but I feel guilt, and I look at like almost anybody, and I didn't have this problem before. I do now, and I've tried a lot of different things, but there's a question out there. I know I'm not alone, but I don't want to stuff it in like I stuffed so many feelings in before. At the beginning, I'm having a really, really hard time with guilt, and I try really hard to avoid it, but I don't know if you can help me out with that and give you some suggestions. Anyways, can't wait to see you. You actually will be with me in my first day in a club sober, and so that's pretty cool. DJ Dan, you, Frankie Bones, sorry, God bless you. I know Frankie. You heard
Frankie
that.
Knuckles passed away.
Frankie Bones.
Frankie Bones.
And
Playing out in Orlando, October
Josh Lane,
2nd, by the way.
and-
Plug.
Awesome.
So you will be there. Thank you. As my
We're gonna be so you can go ahead and fade him out, but that's my buddy Jagger, and we're gonna be sober buddies out there together, so that'll be cool.
That'll be fun.
But so let's address his question. And he was super nervous doing that.
Yeah, I could
and
tell.
so but
I think it's a great question because
yeah,
I know the guilt.
exactly.
I feel that same
yeah.
way a lot.
I hear this a lot, and I love being able to kind of share my thoughts and ideas on it. Guilt and shame, right? What are the difference? Guilt is I did something bad. Shame is I am bad. So I think what Jagger's feeling, from what he shared, is a lot of shame. Because if you feel guilt, if I lie to you, if I steal something out of your wallet, right? Mm-hmm. I can come back and tell you the truth. I can own up to what I did, and I can say, hey, I did something wrong here. How can I make that right? Which we call it amends in 12-step work, right?
Yes.
It's just making a change, taking accountability, right?
Absolutely.
And so after that, then the guilt from that should dissipate. Now, when we have shame, that shame could come from a lot of different places. It could be, the guilt could feed into that. It could be from our past experiences, our trauma. And so it's really important to notice the difference, because when we feel that, oh, I'm a bad person, that goes far deeper than kind of the surface level piece of guilt. So when we have shame, which was what drove our addiction, or what drove our perfectionism, or workaholism, or codependency, that is a deeper issue that needs to be resolved through counseling, right? Go see a counselor, go see a psychologist, a psychiatrist, whatever you want to do on that, and try to work through and process through that shame, because oftentimes what we're carrying around on the shame piece isn't because of anything we did. It might have been because our home environment, our childhood, could be sexual or physical trauma. It could be a lot of different things. Mm-hmm. So you need a professional to help you unpack what that shame is about. Otherwise, you'll continue to carry it around, and it could creep up again, or for the first time, at 47, at 65, at 25, and you go, what the hell happened?
Why did you
that
point
shame.
at me at 65? Huh? You go, at 65.
And I can say that, realizing now and thinking more clearly that, shame is something that I felt like I was never good enough. The only time I felt like I was good enough is when I was working as a professional, helping others. I was very confident in that, and I was
And there was
good
that
at
lane,
that.
and you could present well.
And I could present
nobody,
well.
Yeah.
But other than that, everything was shameful because I wasn't good enough.
Yeah, and what I would, and you don't have to answer this, but when people come into my office and do counseling, we go into the shame, and I'm like, where did you begin to get those messages that I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, or whatever those messages are? And oftentimes they're decades old.
I know hers are. I know personally. I mean, you've talked, and I don't think you'll mind, but I mean, you were brought up that way.
Absolutely.
As a kid, the whole second place is the first last.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and I think for me, and this is something hard to admit, but not blaming my parents or my brother. It's just the life I was dealt. But so I felt like I was never going to be as good as my brother. He was my little brother, but he very intelligent, very athletic, just very good at everything.
And a funny insight to that is her brother thinks the exact same thing about her.
No.
Yeah. I mean, I think so. What you've talked to me about, like, he's like, no, you're the perfect one.
And I mean, like, he qualified for the Olympics, and I mean, he's just a phenomenal athlete. He scored a perfect on his ACT score. And I had to work at everything. However, I was able to achieve and work hard, but he just had it. He just had it. And I never had it. I never felt like I had it. And I was never going to be good enough. And so I probably put more of the pressure on myself. Yes, grew up in the environment that high expectations.
Right.
But then I added to those expectations.
Sure.
And pretty much destroyed myself with
I
those unrealistic expectations.
Now you are a phoenix, and you have risen from the
Absolutely,
ashes, and you are
absolutely.
thriving out there. And I could talk to you all day.
Yeah.
But we are an hour show.
Right.
But I want to thank you for making the journey from Wichita Falls. That is G2 Wound Care out in Wichita Falls. Be sure and check her out, because she's actually done physical therapy work on me. Her hands are magic. Her hands are magic.
It's a gift from God, there's no doubt. But,
Right.
But I will say that it took about 2 months for the medication to make me really
Stabilize,
feel like
yeah.
myself, think clearly like myself.
Okay.
And I do feel like I'm a better version of myself, better than I've ever been.
Right.
Fear is leaving.
And you're comfortable, like, in your own skin.
I'm comfortable in
and that's a
my own
huge
skin.
thing. Yeah.
Fear's going away. Shocked at the support. Like,
Right.
even friends that I disappointed during
Yeah.
that time are supporting me 100%.
Hey, and then guess what? They're small town people.
And they're small town people.
Yeah,
And they
and
still
they
love
support
me
you.
and
Yeah,
support me.
exactly.
I never thought that was possible. But yeah, to only be up for 6 months, I am grateful for the success. And I'm grateful that you didn't give up on me, Kelly, and was always there for me.
She was actually technically my first RSPS gig.
Yes.
I was doing it unlicensed. I was doing it uncertified.
Uncertified.
Yeah, no, I was just being a friend, helping somebody out that I saw
Absolutely.
potential in. So,
Absolutely.
and I'm glad you have just begun to reach that potential.
Absolutely. Yeah, I have a lot of growing to do.
So
Peers are the biggest piece of recovery.
Right? Yeah, that community aspect, man.
Because you might get a counselor once a week if you're very lucky, or once a month.
Exactly.
Right.
But your peers are available to you 24/7.
hours, and you must call them.
Yeah, for sure.
You can't be afraid
You cannot
to call.
pick up the 1,000-pound phone, as they say, or whatever. Yeah. Hey, so real quick before we wind it up, any shout outs? Daughter? Anybody?
Daughter. Super proud of both of my kids. You know, Reese is living his best life, doing his cycling thing, working for a cycling shop, building bikes, and he's doing very well. And we are actually closer than we've ever been in my entire life with him.
I love that.
My daughter also did not. She's not doing the traditional. However, I'm handling it better. She is just turned 16. She will graduate high school in May, which was not on my plan for her to graduate early.
Not on my plan.
Not my perfect plan.
Yeah, sure.
And she will be entering as a sophomore in college. She'll have a whole year of college behind her
Wow.
when she starts. And I expressed my concerns about that.
Right.
And I'll be real quick. I know you're wrapping up, but I want to tell you something she told me that has meant the world. And she's like, Mom, no, it's not the perfect plan that you thought I was going to do, but I don't want you to be afraid. She goes, you've taught me how to be successful out in the real world.
Wow.
And you've taught me to be independent and go for my dreams. And she goes, I am prepared, and you've done that for me.
That's kick-ass.
And I didn't even.
That's like a little single
And,
tear moment.
you know, I didn't
there.
even
No, that's
know
sweet.
that I did it because I was so focused on
Yeah, you didn't.
that.
You didn't realize you were doing a good job.
When I was in that bad place, that I thought that was my life. I thought everything, that nothing I had done before that mattered.
Right.
And it did. It
Right.
really did. And, you know, neither one of my kids gave up on me during that time.
That's great.
And I'm
And your
grateful.
friends. You got
And
lots of friends.
I was going
too,
to say,
that
I've
got
got
your back.
very good friends
Yeah.
that did not give up on me.
That's fantastic.
And I even mentioned that in rehab. I know I was like, I'm not going to have anybody when I go back. But you know what? Because I had shit on them, basically. Not on purpose.
Yeah.
Didn't know I was doing it.
Right.
But all of them were there and supported and celebrated every 30 days of my
Yeah,
recovery with me.
I think it's fantastic.
And,
where
I'm grateful
not,
for
I'm
them.
not huge on the date count, but what? Where are you at now?
Okay, I don't know the exact days, but the 28th will be 9 months.
Oh wow, cool. So you got
Yes.
that coming up. We'll have to have a phone party that day.
Absolutely.
Hey, so
Absolutely.
and Dusty, real quick, I know you have the recovery DFW or North DFW. Recovery Dharma, but then Sobar Basics. But then let's talk about anything you want to shout out.
Two things really. I just wanted a big shout out to my team at Texoma Community Center. We're serving Grayson, Fannin, and Cook County. So
And that's
if you-
free help if anybody wants
It's
that.
basically free for most people, and we serve addiction, mental health, veterans, intellectual disabilities. We have an adolescent substance use disorder program, of course, an adult outpatient program. We do medication-assisted treatment for those with opioid use disorder. We have recovery support services where our RSPSs work. Shout out Carla and Dan. So check us out at texomacc.org. If you need any answers to questions about that, hit me up at Burrows at texomacc.org. Get all
Okay.
that out.
All right,
And
dude,
then
that's
one
a
more
lot of-
thing.
Oh, yeah.
I just want to honor the mother of my children. We lost her to complications from addiction and mental health. This is the weekend, the anniversary of her death. So I
Oh,
want
man.
to
All
dedicate
right.
this show to
Well,
Nikki
shout out.
Beeson and say hi to Austin and Sydney.
Okay.
Oh, awesome.
Well, all right, man. Thank you guys for making time. And Brett, thank you for running the board.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Appreciate
I mean, and you know, this won't be the last time, and we'll talk
No.
and everything like that. Hey, but everybody, be sure to tune in next week. We have Brian Cuban. Yes, the Brian Cuban. He's got his new book called The Ambulance Chaser. So he is going to be on next week. That'll be awesome sauce.
Awesome.
But hey, everybody, remember there is no magic pill for sobriety, because if there was, we would all take too many.
We're done?